Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Lately, I've been getting into a lot of conversations about Mary Sue's. Apparently, people don't like these types of characters. If you do a quick YouTube search, you'll see all sorts of videos telling you why Mary Sue's are bad, how to avoid putting a Mary Sue in your story, how Mary Sue's caused a nuclear apocalypse, yada yada yada. Here's the thing though, I happen to like Mary Sue's. I do, I really enjoy them. So, just to be different, I'm actually going to encourage people to use Mary Sue's. Gee, Shady, how are you gonna do that? Well, for starters, did you know that a Mary Sue could be good for a story?
He's lying!
It's true. People say, don't use Mary Sue's as if it's some kind of rule, and yeah, it pretty much is. But just like any rule, you can break it so long as you uphold the purpose for why that rule exists. But before we get into that, you noobs are probably wondering exactly what a Mary Sue is. Simply put, a Mary Sue, or Gary Stu as they're sometimes called for males, is a character in a fictional story that is quote-unquote too perfect. The character either lacks flaws or only contains flaws that aren't seen as flaws from a story point of view. For example, a normal character that is socially awkward will have a hard time making friends. But for a Mary Sue, all the other characters will find this trait attractive for some reason. Now then, why are Mary Sue's bad? I've narrowed it down to two specific reasons. One, they destroy all tension within the story, and two, they're unrelatable. So, if you create a Mary Sue for your story, but you make up for these factors, you've essentially eliminated any reason to not include a Mary Sue. Don't believe me? Well, get out, you're stupid. There are examples that prove my point. So let's look at some characters I consider Mary Sue's, but still manage to make their stories work. First up is Jared Smith from Recess. Jared Smith appeared in the episode Here Comes Mr. Perfect, and was shown to be a character who was good at everything. He was so good that everyone began challenging him to things just to prove he wasn't perfect. The end result was that everyone hated him because he was in fact perfect. In this story, being perfect is actually considered a negative trait. And there you have an example of eliminating the first problem. Just like you can make a negative trait a good thing, you can make a positive trait a bad thing. Jared being perfect is no longer a good trait, meaning the tension has not been removed. In fact, it is the source of his problems. Now, this is a tricky area because it is crucial that your story supports this. Some stories have tried to make a character too perfect, but they only say it rather than showing it. In fact, this is usually the primary mistake writers make that leads to creating a Mary Sue, so tread lightly here. Next up, we have the King of the Pride Lands, Mufasa. In the story of The Lion King, Mufasa is perfect. He's the perfect father, knowing when to be tough and when to be sympathetic. He's the perfect king, knowing exactly how to perfectly balance the Pride Lands. And, unlike Jared, pretty much everyone loves him, with a few exceptions. Yet I've never once heard anyone complain about the fact that Mufasa is a Mary Sue. Well, for one thing, he dies, but I don't think that's why. Even if that didn't happen, I don't think people would complain about him being a character they couldn't relate to. And that's because they're not supposed to relate to him. In regards to The Lion King, we're experiencing the world through Simba's point of view. Simba, like most little kids, sees his parent as a perfect person who can do no wrong. Not only is he glad to have such a great role model, but he feels some heavy pressure as he knows he has to live up to his dad's legacy. And going back to that death scene, it's because Mufasa is so perfect that it's so powerful. In the same way that there are characters we think are so stupid that they're not only expected to die, but we want them to, there are characters so competent that we almost believe they're invulnerable. Seeing Mufasa, the backbone of the Pride Lands, fall and not get up is a pretty big deal, especially for his kid who idolized him like nobody else. So, in being perfect, Mufasa has made Simba all the more relatable, and thus eliminating the second aspect of why a Mary Sue is bad. A common practice with a good Mary Sue is to keep them out of the focus and give someone else a reason to see them as perfect. This works especially if there's someone the character is trying to live up to, because it shows their ideal situation of where they want to be. Now, before I end, I want to talk about one more example, and longtime fans of mine knew this was coming.
Sparkles on, sparkles off, sparkles on, sparkles
Perhaps my favorite Mary Sue of all time, let's talk about the character Mary Sue from Mad Munchkin Illustrations. For those who don't know, Mad Munchkin is a YouTuber slash artist who reviews animation. Her partner in crime is the character literally named Mary Sue. Mary is good at everything, has a convoluted backstory, is unbelievably powerful, and pretty much meets all the definitions of a Mary Sue. And yet, people in the Mad Munchkin fandom can't get enough of this character. I know what you're thinking. Mary doesn't count, she's a parody. True that may be. She still meets the definition of a Mary Sue. Mary has a mixture of both Jared and Mufasa. See, most of the Mad Munchkin videos are generally from the perspective of Mad Munchkin. Mad Munchkin, or Maddie, is about as polar opposite from Mary as one can be. This goes into foiling, which is another topic for another video. Maddie is cynical, harsh, and is criticized for being such. Yes, I'm talking about the character Maddie, not the creator Amy Method. Amy, don't hate me. Or if you do, at least let it be in a comedic fashion. As a critic, a character that is unrealistically perfect comes off as something Maddie would find incredibly irritating. As such, Mary is considered a nuisance to Maddie in everything that she does. We can relate to Maddie being annoyed, and the concept of Mary Sue being perfect is now a bad thing within the continuity. Mary has broken both reasons of why a Mary Sue is a bad thing, and sure enough, people love this character. So stop treating Mary Sues like they're the worst thing that happened to literature, you freaking racist. As I said before, any rule can be broken as long as you uphold what the rule stands for. If you want to put a Mary Sue in your story, then by golly, go ahead and do it. Just make sure they work within the atmosphere of your story, and it'll be fine. This has been Shady Doorags. So long, farewell, I'd be to say goodbye.